My Variety. And Becky, I guess I can let you introduce some people you have here tonight.
Yep.
For that.
Thank you. Okay. So I passed around some handouts that you'll see in front of you. There's actually 4 there. I'm going to introduce today a gentleman that's with us tonight. He's the Chief Executive Officer for My Variety, which is a children's organization. The primary goal is to find students to be able to utilize the My Bike, My Voice, My Stroller program. And I'm going to let him talk more in depth about this. However, I did want to let you know that to date, we've had 23 students already benefit from these donations, which is up to nearly $40,000 of donations with this equipment. We've had, let's see, I'm going to peek at my numbers here, 18 adapted bikes, 3 adapted strollers, and 2 communication devices. So one of the things we hope to do this year, you'll notice on the back 3 pages that it says My Variety in the top right corner. Well, if you look in the top left corner, you'll see our Canon-McMillan logo. We're going to co-brand with them for these flyers to try to help reach more people. And our goal for this year is to double that number. And if you ask Charlie, he'll say triple that number. So it's all about trying to find the kids within our district that can benefit and how this can benefit them. So without stealing any more of his thunder, I'd like to introduce Charlie LaValle.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to Superintendent Daniels for his leadership, and you know, how cool to get that much equipment here for your kids. So congratulations to you, Becky, and the team. And just to give you an idea, I was talking with this Canon-Mac student, who I'm going to show you her picture in just a second, her mom on the way down. She happened to be in the hospital. Callie just got out. But this is Callie Rose, to any of you who know Callie. And she's a terrific girl. When she got her bike, you know, we'd made relationships with Chow Mahoney, the IU1 executive director, is an old friend of mine, and well, I shouldn't say we've been friends for a long time. Might be, I'd rather. He'd probably prefer I say it that way instead of old friends. But so Callie got her bike at Washington Hospital, and it was the coolest thing. When I walk in, she puts out her nails. You saw the color of her bike she picked, neon green, right? She puts out her hands and she goes, "Charlie, look at my nails. I painted them green to match the color of my new bike." Does it get any sweeter than that, you know? Yeah. And so what was so beautiful, Callie would say, when she got her bike, which she hadn't been able to ride a bike before, she was like flying like the wind. Flying like the wind was her description of herself. Well, one of the coolest things that happened with Callie, and this is, I think, what the bikes are often, is a gateway to other things. So she got a lot of confidence from riding the bike. So now she's on the Mighty Penn sled hockey team, right? Because she gained confidence from one thing, as we all know, right? So you translate it over to another area. Well, one of our board members is a director at AFSCME. And so he invited Callie to come down. Cindy and Callie came down to Wheeling, and she sang a cappella the national anthem. I had to stand with her, I knelt with her, and she had a little trouble at one point, you know, because there's several hundred people in the room. I mean, she's not trying to make a career out of singing, but it was all about giving her another experience to feel great about herself. So then we had a gala in November, and we were honoring Leo Gerard, the USW Steelworkers International president, who was so moved by a particular communication device, which I'll show you. Leo went out and raised $500,000.
Wow.
It was awesome. So I asked Callie again, in front of 450 people at Heinz Field, if she wanted to sing the national anthem. And she did it again. So, I mean, those are cool things. And so, especially since it's a Canon-Mac student. And so I called Cindy, her mom, on the way down, and I said, I want you to tell Callie, she's got out of the hospital, I said, I want you to tell her that tonight she's inspiring people even though she's not here. And so, her mom, you know, to share that joy. With our kids sometimes, you know, they get to receive, but I think it's important for them to know they're changing other kids' life. I was interviewed one time by, I'll never forget this interview. We've had more media coverage than any nonprofit in Pennsylvania in the last 5 years. Because if you think about the bikes, you see a child get on a bike and all of a sudden they ride. They've never ridden before, right? And but they asked me, what didn't I expect about the My Bike program? I said, well, I didn't know if we could get 50 at the beginning. They're $1,800 a piece. I didn't know if we could get 50. Well, we're nearing on $2.5 million worth of adaptive bikes now. But I said, the thing that I really didn't expect was to have my own life transformed by the kids. You know, I think this kind of joy that they get, it's transformative. It's irresistible. So we have a star of the show tonight. Let's bring her down. I wanted you guys to really see. It's hard to kind of capture. This is Brianna. She's coming. Just got her bike recently.
She's a second grader at Borland Manor.
Here she comes, the star of the show, ladies and gentlemen. I present to you Brianna. She has the greatest shoes ever seen on one of these bikes. I wish you could see her shoes, but they are knockout terrific. And in a few minutes, back in the other room, I want to tell you quickly about this. She's going to get her communication device. So as Becky was saying, we can add that number one more tonight, another piece of equipment into a Canon-Mac student. And Dusty, I don't know, as the mom, would you like to say? I know it's hard because it's so fertile, but do you want to say anything about what the bike means or what you hope for with a communication device for her?
Well, she's had the deficit, as you know, since birth, and honestly, she's progressed nicely, more than they thought she would, but she has so little ability to actually interact with others, so her relationships are limited, and when we do activities, because she's one of 7, it's hard because she never could gain her balance on a regular bicycle because she had a hip dysplasia when she was born. So having the bicycle, she can come with us. We like to ride bikes, and now she doesn't have to walk alongside or push one. So she actually gets to be a part of everything. So it's pretty important. And I mean, I don't know, from a communication standpoint, now her needs will be more well known. So it's important for children who can't tell you what they need to be able to show you. So I mean, it's essential.
Thanks, Dusty. Thanks so much for coming out tonight, bringing the bike. I mean, they wanted you to see it because obviously the more you as the board know and are proud of what we're doing and we work together to change more Canon-Mac students, they went the extra mile tonight. The bike came with Tori, her caregiver, who's terrific, who's brought Brianna. Thank you so much for all you do. They brought the bike in the truck. The other kids came. The older brother's sitting them in the vehicle while they're watching the movie so she could come in. Aww. And this is Shana McCleary on our staff at Variety. I'm so grateful for Shana and what we do together. So while I finish telling you about the communication device, Shana's going to take Brianna and her mom back out to the room.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you. Awesome.
What do you think?
Thanks, Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. Hey, you want to?
The bike
Can
is
you get a picture with the superintendent before?
Offer their
she
cookie.
goes? Superintendent Daniels?
No, yeah, there's some in the thing there. Just take some cookie.
Oh, yeah, definitely take the cookies.
Awesome. You take pictures, Button? Nice to meet you.
Becky, do you want to get in?
Yeah.
the bike is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Our smile pretty. She has the best smile. Aw, you can't beat that.
Good
1,
job.
2, 2.5, 3. Look at that. It's beautiful.
You can't beat that smile. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
So, not to take too much of your time, let me tell you about this. Here's what happened. Aww. The hugs, that's what it is. So, what happened was, you know, we expanded from 10 to 54 counties. The program's been so successful. And then what happened was, one of the moms called me up whose daughter was 7 when she got the bike. This is a year later. And she says, Charlie, I want to tell you what the teacher told me today. My daughter's teacher told me. I said, well, fine, tell me. She said, your daughter is telling a story in school through a communication device. And she said, I want to tell you what I told the teacher. I said, well, what was that? She said, I've never heard my daughter tell a story. I'd love to hear my daughter tell a story. So I began to look into it, and in certain school districts, kids are sharing a device. And it's 40 minutes a day, 40, 40, 40, 40. And I said, I understand the financial pressures. Let me just make sure I understand that we have kids only able to speak 40 minutes a day. They said, that's right, Charlie. No judgment, just trying to understand the fact. And I found some other school districts where they were more progressive and they were having the kids have it dedicated to them, right? But they couldn't take it home. So I said, let me make sure I understand this. So the kids can talk to the teachers, they can talk to other students, but they can't go home and talk to mom, caregiver, dad, brothers, sisters, grandma, grandpa. And to be honest, that just didn't seem right to me. So, because what we heard from the parents was two things, and it's kind of painful. They said how frustrated their kids are to the point where they're hitting themselves, hitting their heads off the wall before they can get home because they can't get dad to understand or mom to understand. And I don't think we, the general public, are really hearing with hear and hear, right? We hear it cognitively, but we don't really know what the families are going through. And then the parents would say, the second thing is, Charlie, can you imagine how frustrating it is? You're a dad, you're a grandfather. Can you understand how frustrating it would be not to know what your child needs and then not be able to meet that need? So that's how we created My Voice, quite frankly, by listening to the parents. And, you know, I was speaking to a bunch of county commissioners recently, and the further I get into my 60s, after driving 3 hours for the meeting, you know, you have to go through when you go into the courthouse, right? You have to go through security, right? But I got the device out, and I said to the security guard,
I need to use the bathroom.
he said, okay, brother, you can go ahead and use it, just come back, go through security afterwards. But, you know, if you're nonverbal, how do you need to say something like, you need to go to the bathroom? We were giving out a bike down at Washington Financial one time. I remember this boy was so excited, so excited, so excited. We get there, we're giving him, he won't get on the bike. I said to his mom, what do you think the problem is? Well, she said, Charlie, I just finally figured it out. She didn't know we had this program, which was sad to me, right? She said, he soiled himself. Oh. He doesn't want to sit on the bike. And I said, geez, if only he'd been able to say to you, right, you could have taken him in, changed him, and he could have enjoyed this big day. And so, you know, all these kind of basic things, if you have a communication disorder, how do you say where you're in pain?
Sore throat, stomach ache, earache.
Or what level? You know, I just went through it. My mom lived with me for a decade and then was in hospice. She died a few months ago. But so we went through this all the time. How much pain are you in?
It really, really hurts.
Right? How do you say how much pain you're in if you're nonverbal? And so, let alone some of the more basic stuff, which is important to the kids.
Isn't this this is the piece of equipment, these are the pieces of equipment I see advertised with UPMC?
Yeah, I was just going to say
the bikes going around in a circle.
No, those are all Highmark that donated them to us. There's 3 kids who are at Pioneer Education Center,
Yes.
Pittsburgh Public School, and then, I don't know if you've seen our new one. We don't have it here, do we?
The video.
Do we have the video?
No.
There was a
there's
little
a
girl,
at the doctor.
little girl
so-
at the doctor's office
Yes.
saying she has an earache.
So what happened with that is we were working with the intermediate unit in Harrisburg,
Mhm.
IU 15, and in November we gave Janessa, who's 11, a communication device. She'd been using one in school with her SLP, but she couldn't take it home. Just what we were talking about.
Uh-huh.
So Highmark calls me up. They did the My Bike commercial. They said, Charlie, do you have a child we could do My Voice? Do you have somebody in Harrisburg? Part of me wants to go, yeah, and how old would you like her to be? What color would you like her? You know, it's kind of funny, you know. Do you have a child in this area? You know, yeah, let me just pull it down out of the ceiling. But nonetheless, we identified Janessa. And what you saw when she goes to the doctor, that was real.
I believe
The
it.
first time she ever talked to the doctor, and she says if you've seen the 30-second spot, the first time they aired it out here in Pittsburgh was during the Steelers game, which is beat.
Right, I saw.
And so she says, it really hurts. And the doctor says, well, let me look in your ear. She has an ear infection.
Uh-huh.
So he writes her a prescription for antibiotics before we left his office. First time she ever talked to the doctor. She's a cancer survivor. She had cancer at 1. She has Down syndrome and verbal apraxia. This is revolutionizing her
It has
life.
to, yeah.
And there's a new one I hope they're going to air. When we were out there, we also shot the diner. She's ordering food in the diner for the first time.
Awesome.
Sausage, pancakes, juice orange.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I'll leave for another time to tell you about the strollers, but let me just tell you quickly to end about Tyler. So Leo Gerard and I presented at USW headquarters Tyler, who is 6, with his communication device. And in this, well, what he got is the next day, June 7th, he told his mom what he wanted to eat for the first time. 2 hot dogs, not 1, 2 hot dogs and strawberry milk. His grandfather said to me, we didn't even know he liked strawberry milk. Well, how would you know if he can't say, right? So this is the first time he asked his sisters to play a game with him. Will you play a game with me? And really the coolest thing that's happened, the really thing that gives me so much hope. So Tyler, I heard him with his grandmother use his device to say, "I love you, Nana." He's made so much progress in the last 7 months. His parents and his SLP believe he's going to transition from this to his very own voice, because the more he uses it, for him with his communication disorder, it's enabling him. It's enabling him to speak. So I have now heard him say to his grandmother, with his voice, "I love you, man." So I called Leo up after he raised the $500,000, and we gave it to Tyler. I said, "What if Tyler's the only one?" He said, "Are you kidding me? To have him go from no voice to a communication device to his own voice? More than enough. We're going to do a ton of kids together." He said, "But the one." One of my closest friends was Mr. Rogers. Fred would always say, "Think of the one. Think of the one." And, I hope we can do, as Becky was saying, I hope we can double and triple those numbers. And why the co-branding is so important? Because people don't know variety, honestly. Right? Who is variety? A lot of people have heard of it. I mean, I know if somebody says Variety Club, I can tell you how old you are, because you're at least in my age category.
Yeah,
You know, Variety
I was going to
Club.
ask you that.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Donna. So,
Yeah.
I know where we are together,
Yeah.
right? That and my mother's generation. So, but see, if you're a mom and you don't know variety, you know Canon-McMillan.
Right.
So you're willing to trust that this is a legitimate program, because the other big barrier for us is the parents think it's too good to be true, because our income guidelines are so high, 500% of poverty. Although 1 out of 5 of our kids live in poverty. I don't know how you live in poverty, plus have a child with special needs. I have no idea. 55% of our kids live in families with no disposable income, not counting having a child with special needs. So it's the higher incomes, the middle income families that don't believe this. So again, with the special ed team on board and really the therapists getting into the families, you guys are going to do something I think terrific. And here's my hope. What I'd like to do, if you think we can pull it off, the more it grows at Canon-McMillan, I'd like to hold up Canon-McMillan as a model and say to other school districts, well, here's what they did. Here's how they did it. You don't have to do it exactly like they did, but figure out how to take that model and adapt it so you can find more kids. So that's my real hope as we work together, that Canon-McMillan can be one of the models we hold up and say, look, it's possible. They doubled their numbers. They tripled their numbers. Their kids are going home with communication devices. The other kids are getting strollers. What happened with the strollers was, I didn't know that would catch on, but if you get a power wheelchair, you can't get another piece of mobility equipment through insurance for 4 or 5 years. So what was happening was the families were being split up. One mom takes out typical kids. Dad has to stay home with a child with special needs because they can't get everybody in the vehicle they have. Right? I had a grandfather sobbing with me. He just wanted to take his grandson down to Dairy Queen, which is what he was going to do once he had that stroller, because he couldn't get the wheelchair in his car. He didn't want to go to Paris with his grandson. Just wanted to go to the DQ.
Yeah.
Shouldn't every grandfather get to take his grandson down to Dairy Queen for a banana split or something like that? So I thank you for your time. I thank you for the leadership that has been exhibited here, the partnership we have, and I hope we can just continue to have this grow and get every kid we can in Canon-McMillan and then hold it up as a model. And I don't know if you have any question for me. I'm sure you have a lot of other business to do. I appreciate your making the time and for your commitment.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes, thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank
great
you.
equipment, great
Thank
everything.
presentation.
Thank you. Awesome.
I'm having a cookie. Having
Oh, take two. Take two.
So I talked to Carnegie-Mellon last night to all the fraternities and sorority leadership because they're thinking about whether they'll adopt us, right?
Ah.
And so I went to Carnegie-Mellon, but I had to go to the bakery first and to make donuts at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you know how it goes to college: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. For 4 years, I had to bring hot donuts every day.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, and that leads us right into another
Well, I was
presentation.
going to say, just one last note about that one is that our March in service, we also have someone from iVariety coming to talk to the special ed teachers. So we're hoping
Good.
to find ways to help the parents complete the applications and our teachers identify the students who could benefit from this. They don't, as you saw today, just get one device or one piece of equipment. They are able to get all three technically. And right now we're in the prime position because before there was a waiting list and they would have to find donations and then they would move to the next person on the list. He basically said they have this $500,000. They're looking for kids now. So while it's there, we want to make sure that we act
Absolutely.
So all your people and all your kids, you're going to try to move that. Take as many as you
I'm
want.
taking them for the kids in the car.
Oh my, there, take the box.
That's okay. You guys, somebody's going to have a cookie later.
There you go.
You don't
Take
have
as
to
many
get
as
that
you
till
need.
later. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you again.
See.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'd like to see a lot of our kids be able to get some of that equipment, especially the verbal one. That's a big deal.
Well, that bike is.
It's a nice bike.
I mean, even with the verbal one, not to belabor it, but the one other story he had told me was that one kid, his mom said, "What do you want for breakfast in the morning?" He goes, "Pop, chips." And she just busted out laughing because he never told her what she wanted before. So she said, "I gave him pop and chips."
Well, there you go.
So,
Good for him.
yeah, pretty neat.
Yeah. Thank
Do
you.
you have kids who are assistive technology that aren't allowed to take it home? Yeah,
It shocked me.
that people. I was
when
like,
he
"Look,
talked
my
about-
district's better not be doing that."
when he talked about
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You should see Brianna. She has her iPad on her shoulder.
How
Her
cute.
voice goes wherever she goes.
There
now.
she goes.
So she's all ready to go. Really
Good
cool.
for her.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a hard time understanding the whole voice component of it because I didn't understand why they wouldn't have access to it all day, and I also didn't understand why they wouldn't have access to home. And then the other thing he said was that some districts collect them at the end of the year, and how do you not let them take it home to use it in the summer? So we haven't followed that, but this will
Thank God.
still be something that they will then have their own personal device. It will then be, they will have ownership of it, so it's still a great thing for them.
So does she keep that bike
That's
Yep.
hers.
forever?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's her.
And at this point, I asked about whenever it ends
sure
up
they can
down the line and, wherever, say that it breaks or something like that, and he said, as of now, they would resubmit applications and reapply, and they would.
I mean, you
get-
probably could take it to a bike store. Probably.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the
Yeah.
communication device and iPad, I think
Yeah.
after, 5 years, it might
That's nice
start
though.
slowing down.
Yeah.
So.
And they're fully adjustable
Yeah.
as the kid grows.
And that's great.
Yes, they are.
That's great. Awesome. Awesome.
So our next presentation, Mrs. McConnell, you can introduce who you have as your guest and
Sure, thank you. So, Mrs. Leave's presentation this evening through my variety was the perfect way, it was the perfect element for us to segue into our presentation tonight. Marilla McConnell, the principal of Borland Manor, and with me today is Natalie Jaskowski. She is our teacher in the Autistic Life Skills Support classroom. So, before we give you our full presentation this evening, in preparing for tonight and then partnering with Mrs. Lee with regard to the program elements that would be presented this evening, gave us an opportunity to do a lot of reflection. I am back to the elementary school, or to the elementary program rather, 8 years now. And that was the year that Borland Manor and the Canon-McMillan School District took over our Autistic Life Skills Support classroom from the intermediate unit. And that just also happens to be the year that Mrs. Jaskowski was hired. So we have been working in this program side by side together for the last 8 years, which has truly been fantastic. Our presentation tonight highlights an artist residency program that we were awarded this year. And the program runs through our Autistic Life Skills Support classroom, and it's called Jumping Jack Theater. Now, Jumping Jack Theater came to me in a very interesting way as well. In 2015, during my time at Borland Manor, a class of the 2008 Canon-McMillan graduate reached out to me via email and said, "Miss Kazos, do you remember who I am?" And she was now working with this theater program and had learned that Canon-McMillan had an autistic life skills classroom at Borland Manor and asked me if we would be willing to pilot this program. They were just getting off the ground. So we accepted a 5-day artist residency in the 2015-2016 school year. We planned it maybe over 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks we had 5 sessions with the lead artists, and we found so much value to it that they returned in 16-17 for a 20-day artist residency. You'll see a little bit of that this evening. And then this school year, they came back again, but this time we partnered with Dr. Abadanza at North Strabane because he's our natural lead to the next level with programming. So our teaching artist, Rebecca Covert, worked 2 hours at Borland Manor in the morning and then 2 hours in the afternoon twice a week. So I will let Mrs. Jaskowski share some of her insights as she's the lead teacher in the classroom and really had more witness to this. And then we have a video montage to share. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I wrote something down, so I know I'm getting nervous. So I just wanted to begin by saying that this opportunity has changed not only all my students' lives, as I'm sure you see on Brianna's eyes, but mine as well in such a positive way. It's altered my outlook on teaching and the importance of self-confidence, which you see on her face on her bike, and the same thing you'll see on her face in the video. The workshops have been able to provide just numerous opportunities for all of my students. And by writing, finding, and scheduling the grant, Ms. McConnell has given all of these students a chance to participate in a meaningful and memorable way every Tuesday and Thursday. This enabled the students to have a voice that is heard in other ways than the typical manner, as we just saw through the My Voice. So many of my kids would use their communication devices, asking Miss Rebecca, asking Jumping Jack. They would say, "Is today Tuesday? Is today Jumping Jack Day?" They knew Tuesdays and Thursdays was a Jumping Jack Day. They were excited for those days. Their day was transformed using props, characters, musical elements, and instruments. Each and every student was able to relate and add something to the show because that is really what every session was. It was a show, and my students were the stars. So this is it.
So that is our presentation. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Wow.
That was really good.
Thank you.
They look like they really enjoy that.
Yeah.
They have, and we've just been so fortunate to be with them since the beginning. And a lot of this video footage, it's a combination of the work that was done this year at Borland Manor and North Strabane. So to see some of our kiddos that had passed through Borland Manor's program participating and benefiting from that at North Strabane as well, it's like a double blessing. So thank you.
You've been outstanding in that classroom. What have you observed since you put this into place, since you implemented, as far as the students and their interaction or engagement?
Just being able to like expand, talk more, socialize, interact appropriately. Just even during play and recess time, they'll role play some of these episodes or experiences they had during jumping jack with each other, with their typical peers. Especially because in the beginning when we started it, it wasn't just kids from my class. We had typical peers in it as well. It wasn't just kids with IEPs. And then this last year, since I had so many kids, it just was with my kiddos. But even when it was in the newspaper and whatnot, those were typical kids, and they were just as excited, if not more excited, to come to jumping jack too. So it's just been such a great experience, and it's really given the kids something to look forward to, something to participate in. A lot of these kids might not be able to play sports like their other friends, or might not be able to play the piano, but to be involved in something like this, and a lot of the musical parts you really didn't get to see, but they started off every session with a hello song. And my kids loved it to the point where we still sing it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even though jumping jack is only on Tuesday and Thursday, because they love it so much. So it's really changed our program. It's changed our kids' lives. And even the parents are like, what is this jumping jack? Even though we've sent information home, they had to sign permission slips, but the kids must be going home and telling them more about it because even the parents are asking us about it. So it's
Good
really
job.
great.
Do the parents ever get to see this?
This was just put together for us for this presentation, so we'll be sending it to the participating parents.
Boy,
Sure. It's public. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can find more jumping jack theater videos similar to this, but this was our particular artist documentation.
Yeah, it's just
For her
great
time with
PR
us.
for everybody in the district, and the
Thank you.
parents would see that, they'd be overwhelmed
Sure.
just to understand.
I don't know if you
Understand what's
recognize
going
that Bree was one of
Yeah.
our jumping jack participants. So
Okay.
And her
Um,
sister is actually at Norstrabane, and she's in the program as well. So
Good.
she was one of the first kiddos who started whenever she was
That's
at my
good.
school. So now she gets to experience it up at Norstrabane as well.
Fantastic.
Did you say this was introduced to you from a CM alum?
Juliana
That's even
Bolio,
better.
class of 2008. Yeah.
Her mother was a paraeducator in the IU-run autistic support
Yeah.
classroom years ago with your children at Borland Manor.
Who the alum's mom?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And she then went to University of Pittsburgh and does theater and worked for
Pittsburgh Center for the Arts.
yes. And you see her name when you go to plays, like I see like a Canon-McMillan kid there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
That's
was
really
fun.
Yeah.
She emailed me 8 years after she graduated and said, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I did. She was an outstanding performer, so I did remember her. And she had caught wind that we had just taken over this program and said, "Do you want to give it a try?" And we said, "Why not?"
Yeah, that
and
makes
here
it
we are,
even more
3 years
special.
later. So
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Just
it
the,
really
That's,
is.
it is, that's nice.
the artistic expression and being able to.
Yeah.
well, it's programming that is atypical. There's no other part of our life skills curriculum which has a whole bunch of value to it that touches upon the arts in this way. So yeah, we
Yeah,
found
that's
that to be
unbelievable.
extraordinary.
That's cute.
Well, thank you for sharing
Very
with
nice.
us.
Thank
Very
you.
nice. Thank you very much. Very much.
You're welcome to stay the rest of the night, or you're welcome to.
Thank you.
She's like,
Yeah.
wow, that sounds real
And thank you,
interesting.
Becky was such a great support to
Yeah.
this through the
Thank
whole
you
thing
very
as
much.
well. So she's visited our program, she's seen the artists and the kids in action. So see there,
Thank you.
the
Put
one
it on the table.
one of the times when I went to see Natalie and her kids, and I went to our club in grade school.
The fact that that was started by a CM alum is even
Yeah,
better.
that's
Like,
Awesome.
all the
Kate.
imaginative play that you don't think would be even possible is, like, I literally went right afterwards directly to Marilla's office and I said, I am so amazed at what just happened in the
That's
way
awesome.
that they do with Natalie. I mean,
Hey.
and she's
They won.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a good
you.
night.
The fact that that was started by a CM alum is even cooler.